A soldier released from captivity in Afghanistan could soon end up in military prison here in the U.S.
Military officials this afternoon said they will charge Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl with desertion for leaving his post in Afghanistan before he was captured. NBC's Steve Handelsman live in Washington with the latest on this developing story. Steve?
Thanks. Good evening. Bowe Bergdahl's defense lawyer decried what he called the lynch mob atmosphere. He says that there's a rush to judgment in this case. But a lawmaker here on Capitol Hill said these charges now against Bergdahl again raise questions about President Obama's decision last spring to trade Bergdahl for 5 Taliban prisoners. More questions asked since Bergdahl now faces life in prison. Under investigation for nearly a year, he was freed on May 31st. Bergdahl's charged with misbehavior before the enemy, which means either running away and or casting away one's weapons. And charge number 2 is desertion. That's what many of Bergdahl's fellow soldiers accused him of after he disappeared from their base in Afghanistan in 2009, leaving behind his rifle. Of course, a massive search for Bergdahl immediately ensued. During that search, a number of the searchers, U.S. service members, were killed in action. Deaths that some fellow soldiers, to this day, blame on Bergdahl. What led up to and what occurred during the captivity that Bergdahl suffered under the Taliban, 5 years in Taliban custody, the Haqqani network that operates in Afghanistan and in Pakistan, and what led up to his leaving his base were investigated for most of last year by a 2-star general. A lot of people in the military knew it's undoubtedly true that Bergdahl suffered in captivity. He suffered public humiliation upon his return. A lot of folks in the military reportedly argued that he'd suffered enough, and what would be fair would be to free Bowe Bergdahl. But that is not the Army decision that was made ultimately by a 4-star general. So now Bowe Bergdahl, who is still on active duty and not in pretrial custody in Texas, now faces the military equivalent of a grand jury proceeding. They'll look at these 2 charges. They'll decide which, if any of the 2, will go forward. If they do go forward, Bergdahl then would face a court-martial. If he's convicted, and if he gets the most serious sentence, this U.S. soldier, who was 5 years in Taliban custody, could spend the rest of his life in a U.S. prison run by the military. Live from Washington, I'm Steve Handelsman reporting.
Steve, thanks very much.